I always imagined my wedding day would be perfect. Instead, I watched it implode in spectacular fashion as my future mother-in-law grabbed the microphone during our ceremony, her face twisted with disgust. My name is Nancy, and this is the story of how my wedding became ground zero for the most humiliating moment of my life, and ultimately, the catalyst for my greatest triumph. I object to this union, Caitlin's voice boomed through the church speakers. My son deserves better than a gold digger from the wrong side of the tracks. The collective gasp from our 200 guests seemed to suck all the oxygen from the room. Eddie, my almost husband, stood frozen beside me, his hand going slack in mine. I could feel my perfectly applied makeup starting to crack along with my composure. "Mother, please," Eddie whispered, but his protest was drowned out by his sister Kylie, who'd apparently been waiting for her cue. "Everyone needs to know the truth about Nancy," Kylie announced, strutting down the aisle in her bridesmaid dress, the one she'd insisted on altering to be more revealing than the others. "She's been manipulating Eddie since day one. I have proof." My best friend Maria stepped forward, her voice sharp. "Shut up, Kylie, this is insane." But Kylie was already waving her phone in the air. "I have screenshots of Nancy telling her friend how marrying into our family would solve all her problems, how Eddie was her meal ticket." "Those are fake," I finally found my voice, though it trembled. "Eddie, you know they're lying." Eddie turned to me, confusion clouding his features. "Nancy, is there any truth to this?" The fact that he even had to ask felt like a knife to my heart. 3 years together, countless moments of love and trust, and he was willing to doubt me because of some manufactured screenshots? "I can't believe you're even asking me that," I said, my voice growing stronger with each word. "Your mother has hated me from day one because I didn't come from money. Nothing I've done has ever been good enough for her." Caitlin's perfectly manicured hand grabbed my arm. "Don't you dare turn this around on me. I've seen right through you from the beginning." I yanked my arm free, surprising her with my force. "No, you've seen what you wanted to see. A poor girl who dared to love your son, who worked her way through college, who built a career from nothing. You're right about one thing. I'm not good enough for your family. I'm better." The church had gone deadly quiet. Even the priest looked uncomfortable, shifting from foot to foot behind his podium. "Eddie," I turned to him, my heart pounding. "This is your moment. Right here. Are you going to let them do this to us?" He looked between his mother and me, sweat beading on his forehead. I need time to think." Those 6 words sealed our fate. I nodded slowly, a strange calm washing over me. "No, you don't need time. You've made your choice. You've always chosen them." Removing my veil with steady hands, I placed it gently on the altar. Then I slipped off my engagement ring, the one Caitlin had insisted should be a family heirloom, rather than the one Eddie had originally picked out. "Congratulations, Caitlin. You've won." I placed the ring in Eddie's palm, closing his fingers around it. "But remember this moment. Remember what you did to me today. Because I promise you, this isn't the last time you'll see me." "Is that a threat?" Kylie scoffed, but I could see uncertainty flicker across her face. "No," I smiled, and for the first time that day, it was genuine. "It's a promise." I walked down that aisle with my head held high, my bridesmaids falling in step behind me like an honor guard. The whispers and stares of the guests barely registered. In that moment, something crystallized inside me. A determination harder than the diamond I'd just returned. Outside the church, Maria grabbed my hand. "Nancy, I'm so sorry. What can I do?" I took a deep breath of the summer air, feeling lighter than I had in months. "Nothing, but they're going to be sorry. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday. And I'm going to make sure I'm there to see it." "What are you going to do?" I looked back at the church doors, where curious guests were starting to spill out. "I'm going to become everything they accused me of being. Successful, powerful, and absolutely unstoppable. And then I'm going to make them wish they'd never underestimated me." Little did they know, their very public rejection had just lit a fire that would eventually burn their perfect world to the ground. And I was going to enjoy every moment of watching it happen. 2 months after my wedding, I sat across from Maria at our favorite coffee shop, stirring my third espresso of the day. The dark circles under my eyes betrayed my sleepless nights, but my voice was steady as I shared my news. I got an interview at Burton and Associates, I said, watching her eyes widen. The consulting firm? Wait. Maria leaned forward, lowering her voice. Isn't that where Caitlin and Kylie work? I nodded, allowing myself a small smile. Senior VP and Marketing Director, respectively, but they don't handle the hiring process for other departments. Nancy, Maria's tone carried a warning. Are you sure this is healthy? Maybe you should focus on moving on instead of... Instead of what? Pursuing a legitimate career opportunity? I pulled out my laptop, turning it to show her the job listing. Look at the requirements. MBA in business strategy, minimum 5 years experience in corporate restructuring, proven track record in process improvement. It's exactly what I've been doing for the past 6 years. Maria sighed, but looked at the screen. Project manager for strategic initiatives. Okay, I'll admit it's perfect for you. But nothing, I cut her off. I'm not going to let them take my career opportunities away, too. Besides, I closed my laptop. Eddie already signed the divorce papers. This isn't about him anymore. The bell above the cafe door chimed, and I instinctively tensed. But it wasn't any of the Burtons, just another customer seeking their morning caffeine fix. Speaking of Eddie, Maria hesitated. He called me yesterday. He wants to meet with you. My hands tightened around my coffee cup. Too late. He left his mother's house, got his own place, says he made a huge mistake. Good for him, I said flatly. But I'm not interested in being anyone's second choice. My phone buzzed, an email from Burton and Associates. My heart raced as I opened it. They want me to come in tomorrow, I announced, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. First round interview with HR, then a panel interview with the department heads. Maria reached across the table, squeezing my hand. Just promise me you'll be careful. Don't let revenge consume you. I'm not consumed by revenge, I said, standing up and gathering my things. I'm motivated by justice. The next day, I walked into Burton and Associates wearing my sharpest suit and carrying a portfolio filled with project proposals I'd spent weeks perfecting. The receptionist directed me to the 14th floor, where a woman named Valerie would be conducting my initial interview. Valerie turned out to be nothing like I expected. In her mid-30s, with a warm smile and sharp eyes, she gestured for me to sit across from her desk. Your resume is impressive, she began, but I'm more interested in hearing about your vision for this role. What would you do in your first 90 days? I pulled out my portfolio. I've analyzed your company's public financial reports and identified 3 major areas for improvement. First, your current project management system is outdated. For the next hour, I laid out my strategy. Valerie's questions were probing but fair, and I found myself genuinely enjoying our discussion. Well, she said finally, leaning back in her chair, I think we should move forward with the panel interview, but Nancy, she paused, studying me carefully. I have to ask, why Burton and Associates specifically? I met her gaze steadily. Because you're the best in the industry, and I want to work with the best. She nodded slowly. The panel will include several department heads. Are you prepared for that? Absolutely, I replied, my voice unwavering. As I stood to leave, Valerie spoke again. One more thing. I noticed you're recently divorced. We value work-life balance here. Are you sure you're ready to take on such a demanding role? I turned back to her, my smile genuine. The end of my marriage taught me something important. When life knocks you down, you have 2 choices. You can stay down, or you can get up stronger than before. I chose the latter. Valerie's expression softened. The panel interview is next Tuesday at 2 p.m., and Nancy, between you and me, I think you're exactly what this company needs. Walking out of the building, I felt lighter than I had in months. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about proving to myself and everyone else that I was capable of so much more than they'd given me credit for. My phone buzzed with a text from Maria. How did it go? I typed back, Phase 1 complete. They have no idea what's coming. The game was on, and this time I was playing to win. My first day at Burton and Associates started with a series of fortunate coincidences. The elevator was under maintenance, forcing everyone to use the stairs, which meant no awkward early morning encounters with my former in-laws. I'd also been assigned to the 12th floor, 2 levels below where Caitlin and Kylie worked. "Welcome to the chaos," Valerie greeted me, leading me through a maze of cubicles. "Your office is right here. I made sure you got the one with a view." I set my laptop bag on the desk, taking in the floor-to-ceiling windows. "It's perfect. When do I meet the team?" "Right now, actually. They're waiting in the conference room." Valerie paused, her hand on the door. "Just manage your expectations. This department has been struggling for a while." The conference room held 6 people, all looking various degrees of defeated. Their body language screamed, "Given up," from slumped shoulders to avoided eye contact. "Everyone, this is Nancy, our new project manager for strategic initiatives," Valerie announced. "Nancy, why don't you share your vision for the department?" I stood, smoothing my skirt. "Before I share my vision, I'd like to hear yours. What do you think this department needs?" Silence. Then a young man in the back spoke up. "A miracle?" Scattered laughter broke the tension. "I'm Tom," he continued, "and honestly, we need someone to actually listen to our ideas. The higher-ups just shoot everything down without even considering it." Others nodded in agreement. "Who usually shoots down your proposals?" I asked, already suspecting the answer. "Caitlin from senior management," a woman named Rachel replied. "She's particular about how things should be done." I kept my face neutral. "Well, I'm not interested in how things have always been done. I'm interested in what works. So here's what we're going to do." For the next hour, I outlined my plan to revitalize the department. With each point, I saw sparks of hope returning to their eyes. Later that afternoon, Valerie stopped by my office. "You've got them excited. That's no small feat." "They just needed someone to believe in them," I replied, organizing files on my computer. "By the way, how often do department heads review our proposals?" "Monthly meetings. Speaking of which," Valerie leaned against my desk, "there's one tomorrow. Caitlin always attends. Should I be concerned about that?" I met her gaze. "Why would you be?" "Because I did my homework, Nancy. I know who you are, or rather, who you almost were." My heart stopped for a moment, but I kept my composure. "And you hired me anyway?" "I hired you because you were the best candidate. But I need to know, is this going to be a problem?" I stood, walking to the window. "The only problem will be if they let personal history interfere with professional decisions. I'm here to do a job, Valerie, a job I'm very good at." She studied me for a long moment. "All right. Just remember, office politics here can be brutal. Watch your back." After she left, I pulled up the company organization chart. Caitlin's position gave her significant influence over departmental budgets and approvals. Kylie, as marketing director, controlled the narrative around company initiatives. They were perfectly positioned to block any major changes. A knock at my door interrupted my thoughts. "Come in." Tom poked his head in. "Hey, a bunch of us are going for drinks after work. Want to join?" "Thanks, but I should stay and prepare for tomorrow's meeting." "About that." He fully entered the office, closing the door. "Look, I don't want to overstep, but Caitlin can be pretty harsh in these meetings. Maybe let me present our first proposal? Take some of the heat off you while you're still new?" I smiled, touched by his concern. "I appreciate that, Tom. But I've dealt with harsh critics before. I can handle Caitlin." That evening I stayed late, refining our presentation. The cleaning staff had already come and gone when my phone buzzed with a text from Eddie. "Heard you're working at Burton and Associates now. We should talk." I deleted the message without responding. The past was the past. I was focused on the future now. As I gathered my things to leave, movement caught my eye through my office window. Across the street, in the building's reflection, I could see Caitlin's office light still on. Her silhouette paced back and forth, gesturing animatedly during what appeared to be a heated phone call. I watched for a moment, remembering how she'd paced similarly at my wedding, working herself up before her dramatic objection. But this time, I wasn't the nervous bride hoping for approval. This time, I was a professional with a plan. "Game on, Caitlin," I whispered to her reflection. Let's see how you handle someone who isn't afraid of you anymore. Tomorrow's meeting would be interesting indeed. The conference room buzzed with tension as executives filed in for the monthly review. I sat calmly at the table, my presentation ready, watching the door. When Caitlin entered, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood floor, I kept my eyes on my laptop screen. Let's begin, Sean, the CEO, announced from the head of the table. I understand our new strategic initiatives team has something to present. I stood, smoothly connecting my laptop to the projector. Yes, we've identified several opportunities for immediate improvement in our project management systems. Excuse me, Caitlin's voice cut through the room like ice. But who exactly are you? I turned, meeting her eyes for the first time since my wedding day. Nancy, project manager for strategic initiatives. I started yesterday. The color drained from her face. Behind her, Kylie nearly choked on her coffee. Is there a problem, Caitlin? Sean asked, frowning at her reaction. No, she recovered quickly, though her knuckles were white around her pen. Please continue. I launched into my presentation, highlighting the inefficiencies in their current system and proposing a streamlined alternative. Our analysis shows we're losing approximately 20% of our productive hours to redundant processes. That's impossible, Kylie interrupted. Marketing has reviewed our workflow and… Actually, I pulled up a detailed spreadsheet. Here's the data from the last 6 months. You'll notice the pattern of delays, particularly in projects requiring multi-department approval. Sean leaned forward, studying the numbers. This is concerning. How did we miss this? Because nobody wanted to challenge the status quo, I replied, careful to keep my tone professional. But maintaining the status quo is costing us millions annually. These numbers are manipulated, Caitlin snapped. You've been here one day. How could you possibly… I've been analyzing publicly available company data for weeks as part of my interview preparation, I cut in smoothly. And since starting, I've had my team verify every figure. Tom, would you like to speak to the methodology? Tom stood, backing up my findings with specific examples from our department. I watched Caitlin's face darken as other team members joined in, each offering evidence of the systemic problems they'd faced. Enough, Caitlin finally burst out. This is ridiculous. Sean, you can't seriously be considering a complete overhaul based on the recommendation of a highly qualified professional with an MBA and extensive experience in corporate restructuring? Valerie supplied helpfully. I vetted Nancy's credentials myself. They're impeccable. Sean raised his hand for silence. Nancy, what's your proposed timeline for implementing these changes? 3 months for the initial phase, I replied, clicking to the next slide. We can begin with a pilot program in my department, then roll out the successful elements company-wide. Without consulting marketing, Kylie protested, we need to consider brand implications. Which is exactly why marketing will be involved from day one, I assured her with a smile. In fact, I was hoping you'd personally oversee the communication strategy, Kylie. Your expertise would be invaluable. She blinked, caught off guard by the diplomatic approach. I like it, Sean declared. Caitlin, your department will need to fast-track the budget approval. I want this moving forward immediately. But, Caitlin started. Is there some reason you're hesitant to work with Nancy? Sean asked pointedly. The room grew silent. Everyone watched Caitlin, waiting for her response. She forced a tight smile. Not at all. I look forward to… collaborating. After the meeting, Valerie caught up with me in the hallway. That was masterful. But you know you've just painted a target on your back, right? Let them try, I replied, watching Caitlin and Kylie huddle together at the end of the hall, shooting glances my way. I've got something they don't. What's that? Nothing left to lose. I turned to her with a grim smile. They already took everything from me once. This time, I'm the one calling the shots. Later that evening, as I was leaving the office, I found a note on my car windshield. The handwriting was unmistakably Eddie's. Nancy, Mom told me you're working here now. We need to talk about this. Please call me. I crumpled the note and tossed it in a nearby trash can. As I did, I caught sight of Caitlin watching from her office window above. I gave her a small wave, enjoying how quickly she stepped back from view. My phone buzzed with a text from Maria. How was the first big meeting? I typed back, Phase 2 complete. They never saw me coming. The pieces were falling into place perfectly. Soon, Caitlin and Kylie would learn what it felt like to have their carefully constructed world turned upside down. And this time, I wouldn't be the one walking away in shame. "They're sabotaging us," Tom announced, bursting into my office 1 month into our project implementation. Marketing accidentally left our department off 3 crucial email chains, and Caitlin's team is sitting on our budget approval. I looked up from my computer, unsurprised. "Show me." He dropped a stack of emails on my desk. Rachel caught it. "We're being systematically excluded from project updates." "Perfect," I said, sorting through the evidence. "This is exactly what I was waiting for." Tom's eyes widened. "You wanted this to happen?" "I expected it. Kylie's not as clever as she thinks she is." I stood, gathering the papers. "Call an emergency team meeting. Conference room, 15 minutes." When the team assembled, I laid out our counter strategy. They think they're subtle, but they're leaving a paper trail. Every missed email, every delayed approval, we're documenting all of it. "But why?" Rachel asked. "What good does documentation do if they're still blocking us?" Before I could answer, Valerie appeared in the doorway. "Nancy, Sean wants to see you. Now." My team exchanged worried glances as I followed Valerie to the executive floor. In Sean's office, I found not only the CEO, but also Caitlin and Kylie, both wearing triumphant smiles. "Nancy," Sean gestured for me to sit, "we have concerns about your project's progress." "I'm aware," I replied calmly, pulling out my folder. In fact, I was about to request a meeting myself. "Our reports show significant delays," Caitlin interjected. "Perhaps you've taken on more than you can handle." Actually, I placed a comprehensive timeline on Sean's desk. Every delay can be traced back to either marketing's communication oversights or senior management's unusual approval delays. I've documented each instance. Kylie's smile faltered. "That's ridiculous. We've been fully cooperative." "Really?" I pulled out my phone, playing a voice message. "Hey Nancy, it's Jeff from IT, just confirming what you suspected. Those email chains were manually edited to remove your team's addresses. Need anything else? Let me know." The color drained from Kylie's face. "There's more," I continued, laying out document after document. Delayed approvals that typically take 2 days, suddenly taking 2 weeks. Meeting invites sent with incorrect times. Budget requests mysteriously lost in the system. Sean's expression darkened as he reviewed the evidence. "Caitlin, care to explain?" "This is absurd," Caitlin sputtered. "She's clearly fabricating." "Everything is verified by department heads and IT logs," I cut in. "But here's what's interesting. Despite these obstacles, my team has still managed to implement 40% of our proposed changes. And in departments where we've done so, efficiency has improved by 25%. I handed Sean another report. "These are the projected company-wide savings if we're allowed to complete the implementation without interference. The numbers speak for themselves." Sean studied the figures, then looked up at Caitlin and Kylie. "Both of you, out. I need to speak with Nancy alone." After they left, Sean leaned back in his chair. "You knew they'd try to sabotage you." "I counted on it," I admitted. "It's easier to expose poor leadership when they think they're winning." He nodded slowly. "There's history here, isn't there? Between you and the Burtons?" "Would it matter if there was?" "It matters if it affects this company." I met his gaze steadily. "The only thing affecting this company is their resistance to necessary change. My personal history is irrelevant to the fact that my strategy works." Sean was quiet for a moment. "From now on, your team reports directly to me. No more going through Caitlin or Kylie. And Nancy?" He smiled slightly. "Next time you set a trap this elegant, give me a heads up. I enjoy a good strategy." Later that evening, as I was packing up to leave, Eddie appeared in my doorway. "We need to talk." "No, we don't," I replied without looking up. "Nancy, please. Mom and Kylie came home furious today. What are you doing?" I finally faced him. "I'm doing my job. Extremely well, in fact. Your mother and sister's problems with that are their own issue." "This isn't healthy." He stepped closer. "This vendetta—" "Vendetta?" I laughed. "Eddie, I presented documented evidence of workplace sabotage. If they're failing, it's because they're more focused on fighting me than doing their jobs. I miss you, he said quietly. You missed me 3 months ago, too, right after letting your mother destroy our wedding. I picked up my bag. Please move. I have dinner plans. As I walked to the elevator, I heard Kylie's voice around the corner. We need to do something more drastic. She's making us look incompetent. No, Caitlin replied. We need to be smarter. Find something she's overlooked. Everyone has a weakness. I smiled to myself as the elevator arrived. They still didn't get it. My weakness had been caring what they thought of me. Now I only cared about winning. And I was just getting started. All hands on deck, I called out, striding into the office early Monday morning. The quarterly review is in 3 days, and we need to be perfect. My team gathered around, coffee cups in hand, looking both exhausted and excited. Over the past 2 months, we'd transformed from the company's forgotten department into its rising star. Tom, how's the data looking? He grinned, pulling up charts on his tablet. Better than projected. Efficiency up 35% across implemented areas. Cost savings already hitting 7 figures. Rachel? Employee satisfaction surveys show a 40% improvement in departments using our new system. Even marketing's numbers are up, though Kylie's trying to take credit for that. I was about to respond when Valerie burst in. Nancy, emergency meeting in Sean's office. Now. The urgency in her voice made my stomach tighten. In Sean's office, I found him looking grim, with Caitlin wearing a satisfied smirk. Close the door, Sean instructed. Nancy, we have a situation. Caitlin has brought some concerning information to my attention. Caitlin slid a folder across the desk. We've discovered irregularities in your department's reporting methods. I opened the folder, scanning the contents. These aren't our reports. This isn't even our data format. They were found on the company servers, Caitlin pressed. Under your department's files. Because someone put them there, I replied calmly, pulling out my phone. Check the metadata. These files were created last night at 11:43 p.m. Would you like to see the security footage of who was in the building at that time? Caitlin's smirk faltered. Furthermore, I continued, our actual reports are verified by 3 independent departments and backed up on separate servers. Tom? On cue, Tom appeared in the doorway with his laptop. Here's the real data, plus the security logs showing when and how the fake files were planted. Sean's expression hardened as he reviewed the evidence. Caitlin, this is a serious accusation you made. If these files were planted... Of course they weren't, she snapped. She's obviously covered her tracks. Actually, Tom interjected, the security footage shows Kylie accessing Nancy's department files last night. She's not as good with computers as she thinks. Left quite a trail. Sean stood slowly. Caitlin, you're suspended pending an investigation. Please leave the building immediately. You can't. I can and I am. This kind of corporate sabotage is grounds for immediate termination. You're lucky I'm only suspending you, for now. After Caitlin stormed out, Sean turned to me. You knew they'd try something like this? I knew they were desperate. The quarterly review would have proven my system works better than theirs. They had to try to discredit me before then. He nodded thoughtfully. The review's been moved up, tomorrow morning. I want this resolved before the board meeting next week. That evening, I stayed late preparing. Around midnight, Eddie appeared at my door. Mom's devastated, he said without preamble. Your mother's facing the consequences of her own actions, I replied, not looking up. Again. This has gone far enough, Nancy. You've made your point. Finally, I met his gaze. Have I? Because from where I'm sitting, I'm just doing my job. Your mother and sister are the ones breaking company policies to attack me. Their family? No, Eddie, they're not. Not anymore. You made sure of that when you chose them over me. He stepped closer, his voice softening. I made a mistake. I miss you. We could start over. Mr. Burton? Tom appeared in the doorway, eyes narrowing at Eddie. Sorry to interrupt, but we need Nancy's sign-off on tomorrow's presentation. Of course, I stood, gathering my things. Eddie was just leaving. As Tom and I walked to the conference room, he glanced at me. You okay? Better than okay, I replied. Tomorrow, we show everyone exactly what this department can do. Back home that night, I received a text from Maria. Heard about the drama today. You sure you want to go through with this? I typed back. They tried to frame me for corporate fraud. Tomorrow, they learn what happens when you underestimate someone with nothing left to lose. My phone buzzed again. Valerie this time. Kylie's been crying in her office all afternoon. Board members are already asking questions. Whatever you've got planned for tomorrow, make it count. I smiled, reviewing my presentation one last time. Tomorrow would be more than a quarterly review. It would be the day Caitlin and Kylie learned that the woman they tried to humiliate at the altar had become the woman who could destroy their careers with a single presentation. And I was ready to deliver the performance of my life. The boardroom was packed. Every department head, board member, and senior executive sat waiting, including a visibly nervous Kylie and a stone-faced Caitlin, who'd been allowed to attend despite her suspension. Before we begin, Sean announced, I want to address yesterday's incident. We're investigating serious allegations of corporate sabotage. If I may, I interrupted smoothly, standing. I'd prefer to let today's results speak for themselves. Sean nodded, gesturing for me to continue. I connected my laptop to the projector, and the room fell silent. 3 months ago, I promised to revolutionize how this company operates. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what we've achieved. The first slide appeared, showing before and after metrics that made several board members lean forward in their seats. In departments using our new system, efficiency has increased by 35%. Cost savings have already exceeded $1 million. Employee satisfaction is up 40%. These numbers can't be real, Kylie protested weakly. Actually, Tom stood distributing folders. Every figure has been independently verified by 3 separate departments. You'll find their signatures on page 2. I clicked to the next slide. But perhaps the most interesting data comes from marketing. Kylie's head snapped up. Under the old system, marketing's project completion rate was 62%. Under our new system, it's 89%. Which means, Kylie, your department is performing better than ever, despite your attempts to sabotage our implementation. That's enough, Caitlin cut in. This is clearly a personal vendetta. Personal? I laughed. Let's talk about personal. Let's talk about how you've blocked budget approvals, excluded us from crucial meetings, and even planted false documents to discredit my team. And yet, we still succeeded. The board members were muttering among themselves now. I pressed on. But here's what's truly remarkable. Despite your best efforts to maintain the status quo, your own departments have proven my point. The numbers don't lie, and they certainly don't care about personal histories. I clicked to the final slide, revealing my masterstroke, a complete organizational restructuring plan. Given our success, I propose expanding our methodology company-wide. This would require some leadership changes. Specifically, I recommend dissolving the current Senior VP position and creating 2 new roles, Chief Innovation Officer and Chief Operations Officer. Caitlin's face went white. Her position, her power base, would vanish. You can't do this, she hissed. Actually, one of the board members spoke up. These results are extraordinary. I move to vote on the restructuring proposal immediately. Seconded, another board member added. Sean stood. All in favor? Hands rose around the room. Even Kylie's direct supervisor voted yes, while she sat there, shell-shocked. Motion carries, Sean announced. Nancy, I believe this makes you our new Chief Innovation Officer, effective immediately. This is insane, Caitlin burst out. You're all being manipulated. She planned this from the beginning. Yes, I said quietly, but my voice carried across the room. I did. I planned to come in here and do my job exceptionally well. I planned to implement changes that would benefit this company. I planned to let results speak louder than personal attacks or family connections. I turned to face her directly. You taught me that lesson, Caitlin. At my wedding, you showed me that nothing matters more than results. Well, here are my results. And unlike your accusations at my wedding, these are real, verified, and impossible to deny. The room fell silent. Even Caitlin seemed at a loss for words. If there's nothing else, I gathered my things. I have a department to run. Tom, Rachel, let's get started on the company-wide implementation plan. As we left the boardroom, Valerie caught up with us. That was brilliant. But you know this isn't over, right? Caitlin still has friends on the board. Let them come, I replied, watching Caitlin and Kylie huddle with their remaining allies. They can't fight success, and they can't fight the truth. Not anymore. Back in my office, I found a note on my desk, Eddie's handwriting. I understand now. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. You're incredible. I crumpled the note and tossed it in the trash. Through my window, I could see Caitlin in her office, frantically making calls, while Kylie sat at her desk, head in her hands. My phone buzzed. Maria. How did it go? I smiled, typing back. Remember how they said I wasn't good enough for their family? Turns out I was too good for their company. The view from my office had never looked better. But as I watched Caitlin's increasingly desperate movements across the way, I felt something unexpected. Not satisfaction, not triumph, but a strange sort of peace. I had won, yes. But the victory felt different than I'd imagined. It felt empty. The knock on my office door came late in the evening, long after most employees had gone home. I looked up to find Caitlin standing there, looking smaller somehow, without her usual air of superiority. May I come in? She asked quietly. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. She sat, smoothing her skirt in a nervous gesture I'd seen countless times before. The board accepted my resignation, she said. Effective immediately. I know, I got the email. Kylie's stepping down too. She's taking a position at another firm. Caitlin's hands twisted in her lap. I suppose you're happy now. Actually, I'm not. I closed my laptop, giving her my full attention. I thought I would be. I thought watching you lose everything would feel like justice, but it just feels sad. Why? Her voice cracked. You won. You destroyed us. No, Caitlin, you destroyed yourselves. All I did was excel at my job. She laughed bitterly. Is that what you tell yourself? It's the truth. I came here for revenge, yes, but somewhere along the way it stopped being about you. It became about proving something to myself. And what was that? That I am exactly what you accused me of being. Ambitious, driven, unstoppable. But those aren't bad things, Caitlin. They're what make me good at what I do. Silence fell between us. Through the window, the city lights twinkled like stars. I was wrong about you, she finally said. At the wedding, about everything. I know. Eddie was right to love you. We were wrong to interfere. I stood, walking to the window. You know what the worst part was? Not the humiliation, not the pain. It was realizing that you never even gave me a chance. You decided who I was before you knew me. And now? Now I realize I did the same thing to you. I saw you as this monster who ruined my life. But you're just a woman who thought she was protecting her family. I turned back to face her. We're not so different, really. Tears slid down her cheeks. I don't know how to fix this. Maybe we don't fix it. Maybe we just learn from it. I returned to my desk, pulling out a folder. I have a proposal for you. She wiped her eyes. A proposal? We're opening a new branch office. It needs someone with experience, someone who knows this industry inside and out. The position reports directly to me. Her eyes widened. You're offering me a job? I'm offering you a chance, the same thing you never gave me. I slid the folder across the desk. Take it home. Think about it. Why would you do this? Because holding on to revenge is exhausting. Because you're good at what you do when you're not trying to destroy people. And because maybe it's time we both tried something new. She stood, clutching the folder. I don't deserve this. Probably not. But that's not why I'm doing it. As she reached the door, she paused. Nancy? Thank you. After she left, I called Maria. You did what? She exclaimed when I told her. After everything she did to you? I found something better than revenge, I replied. I found peace. My phone buzzed with another call. Eddie. This time I answered. I heard what you did for Mom, he said. That was incredible. It wasn't for her or for you. I know, he paused. I miss you, but I understand now why we couldn't work. I wasn't strong enough to stand up for what was right. No, you weren't, but maybe that's something you can learn too. After hanging up, I walked to the window again. In the reflection, I could see the empty office that used to be Caitlin's. Tomorrow, someone new would occupy that space. Tomorrow, everything would be different. Valerie appeared in my doorway. You're either crazy or brilliant, maybe both. I smiled. Sometimes the best revenge is showing people who you really are, not who they thought you were. And who are you, Nancy? Someone who's finally free. I gathered my things, ready to head home. Someone who doesn't need revenge anymore. As I walked out of the building, I passed the church where my wedding should have happened. The pain that usually accompanied that sight was gone, replaced by something lighter, cleaner. I had come seeking revenge, but found something more valuable: self-discovery, strength, and the power to choose grace over vengeance. In the end, that was a victory sweeter than any revenge could have been. My phone buzzed one last time, a text from Caitlin. I'll take the job. Thank you for seeing more in me than I saw in you. I smiled, typing back, welcome to the team. Let's build something better this time. And for the first time since that failed wedding day, I felt truly, completely whole.